Hello everybody. Welcome. Happy Monday. Just finished getting that set up here. It should be, hopefully, should be stable. All right, there we go. Well, welcome in everyone. Tonight is our very last night of Miss Stormy Daniels. I am determined to make it through her testimony tonight. We do have a lot to talk about regarding the testimony that was done today. I will be turning comments on for question and answer after I finish reading tonight. Again, I do want to finish up her testimony for tonight. But I've got a set here for 18 and older just to make sure that only everything is appropriate. I also have redacted quite a bit of Miss Daniels's testimony to make sure that this is more of a PG-13 situation for my own comfort level as I read through this. So I have been reading since last week. We have made it through almost all of her testimony. Last night, I was able to get into her cross-examination, so we have just a little bit more of her cross-examination left tonight. Then we have a redirect. After her redirect, we have a recross, and then another redirect, and then we are finished up. And at that point, I will turn comments on. So it has been a long journey, but she was on the stand testifying for a very long period. So it is taking a little bit to get through her transcripts. I will be moving on to other transcripts, of course, after hers, but tonight will be the grand finale of Miss Stormy Daniels here. So again, I do have comments turned off just while I'm reading. We really don't have too much left for reading, but then I will turn on comments so we can do a Q&A immediately following and talk about not only her testimony, but also Michael Cohen, who is testifying today as well. So welcome in, everyone. Good to see you all. Thanks for joining me. And let me go ahead and get us to where we stopped last night. Okay, well, welcome in. All right, so when last we met, everyone, again, we're starting here right at 7 o'clock Central, and I will go through, finish reading her testimony, and then do a Q&A immediately following. So when we stopped last night, we were stopping here at a break. So we had a break in court. Defense counsel had requested one, and it was agreed to. So at this point, the jury has exited, and so we will pick up right where we left off last night. Here we go. All right, here we go. Lots of tea tonight, everyone. There we are. Just as a friendly reminder, we have the name of the witness up here, Miss Daniels, and then we have what is going on up here to describe what we're doing. So we have the, whoops, hold on everyone, get my pages correct. We have proceedings set up here, and then we have our recross, which will start after our cross-examination. So the title is just a little bit ahead of itself in these next few pages, but it should be pretty easy to figure out. All right, so we are continuing our cross-examination. We just had a break, and the sergeant has come in and said, remain seated, come to order. Part 59 is back in session. Can we get the witness, Miss Necklace? Yes. Witness entering, whereupon the witness entered the courtroom and was properly seated. Okay, let's get the jury, please. All rise, jury entering, whereupon the jury entered the courtroom and was properly seated. Please be seated. Case on trial continued. All jurors are present and properly seated. Miss Necklace. Thank you, Your Honor. Again, we are continuing on with our cross-examination. Miss Daniels, before we took the break, we were talking about you being at a nightclub with President Trump and Big Ben, right? Yes, ma'am. And at some point, President Trump left, and he left you alone with Big Ben, right? Yes. And you testified on your cross-examination just a little while ago. I was asking questions about Make America something tour, right? Yes. And you said you hated that name, right? Yes. And that you never posted it yourself, right? I never made any of those flyers. And you never posted it on your social media, you testified, right? Sometimes they made me retweet them, but I never made any of the flyers and posted them on my own accord. You said sometimes that you may have had to retweet them, but that's it, right? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I fired a webmaster for posting them. I want to direct your attention to showing you what's been marked as J49. Do you recognize that as coming from your Instagram account? Yes. I will offer that into evidence, Your Honor. No objection, accepted into evidence. And that's posted on your Instagram account, right? Yes, it was posted from Deja Vu. And that was February 2nd of 2018, is that correct? February 24th, oh, sorry, yes. And there's a picture of you and that you're going to be somewhere on February 24th, right? Yes. And it says Stormy Daniels performing live, Make America Horny Again 2018 tour, right? Yes. And that's you posing for that picture, right? Well, it's a filler made up of a photo that I posed for. And you posted that on your personal Instagram, right? Yes, that's not my personal Instagram, that's my business Instagram. And I want to direct your attention now to J50, which is just for the witness and the parties. Do you recognize that as being another post from your Instagram? Yes, that was from the very first one. And I offer that into evidence, Your Honor. Any objection? No objections. Accepted into evidence. And that posted on January 14th of 2018, right? Yes. And it says Stormy Daniels, the Making America Horny Again tour, right? Yes. And you posted that on your personal Instagram, right? That's my public Instagram. Your public Instagram, right? And you said, see you soon, South Carolina, right? Yes. And those are just two of many that you posted, right? I don't know. But you were advertising for that tour, right? For my appearance, yes. And making money off of that. That's what you do with tours. And turning your attention back to the tournament, the celebrity golf tournament. President Trump was the biggest celebrity probably at that tournament, right? It depends on what you're a fan of. Well, people recognized him, right? Objection sustained. Well, you saw people following him around, right? Yes, a lot of people are paid to follow him around, I'm sure. I don't know. And he did very well at the golf tournament, right? I don't remember. He was playing golf himself. He was playing golf. I don't remember what the scores were. And so when you saw that, when he went, where he went, people were recognizing who he was, right? Yes, but you recognize that. They recognized me where I went that day too. Okay, and according to you, when you went up to his hotel suite, there were double doors to the outside of the hotel before you got into the suite, right? From the exterior, you mean the hallway? Yes. Yes, there was a door that was cracked, one door was open, and there was a second wider door. And so you said Keith Schiller was standing outside of the hotel suite, right? Yes, he was leaning against the wall by the door. And when you went in there was another door to the bedroom, right? The door to the bedroom was quite a ways away. What was that? Really far away. Okay, so when you went into the bedroom, it was very far away from where Keith Schiller was, right? I don't know where he was at that point in time. You didn't see him inside the suite, did you? I never saw him inside, no ma'am. So you were in the bedroom and the door to the bedroom was closed? No. The door to the bedroom was open, but it was so far away from where the front door was. All the doors were open. The bedroom was very far away from the front door you just said. It was off the living room, yes. And you claimed that one of the things that made you feel uncomfortable or feel like you couldn't walk out was that Keith Schiller was standing outside of the... Objection, that's not the testimony. Sustained. Well, what was your testimony that you were one of the things that you went through your mind about why you couldn't just leave was because Keith Schiller was outside the hotel suite? Absolutely. I would have had to pass by him and get to an elevator and wait for an elevator, and he was a very scary large man. Well, do you recall being interviewed by Vogue magazine in 2018? Yes. And do you recall saying you were asked, did Trump do something that made you feel like you had to have acts with him? And you being empathetic, no. Nothing, not once did I ever feel like I was in any sort of physical danger. I am sure that if I had taken off running, he wouldn't have given chase. And even if I had, there was no way he could have caught me. Do you recall saying that? Yes. You didn't mention anything, but oh, there was a bodyguard outside of the door, did you? I don't remember if I did or not. I don't control what parts of quotes they put into magazines and how many details they use. Vogue is an entertainment magazine and it is a fashion magazine. Sometimes I give too many details. So you last spoke with President Trump in 2007, correct? Well, the last time is that what you said? Yes. Yes. And it was a long time ago, right? Yes. None. And you never spoke with President Trump in connection with your being paid $130,000 to sell the story, did you? No. So you have no personal knowledge about his involvement in that transaction or what he did, do you? Not directly, no. And am I correct that you signed the non-disclosure agreement in this case with legal advice? Yes. And did you not negotiate that non-disclosure agreement with President Trump, did you? Not directly, my attorney. And your lawyer dealt with Michael Cohen, right? Yes. And Mr. Cohen paid you, not Mr. Trump, right? Actually, my attorney paid me. Okay, but you understand that the money came from Michael Cohen, right? I know the objection overruled. You can answer. I know that the money was wired to me from Keith Davidson. Okay, and did you understand that the money was wired to Keith Davidson? That's what I understand, but I have no proof. Okay, then you understand that in this case, President Trump is charged with a crime for how the payment reimbursing Mr. Cohen was labeled on President Trump's books. You understand that, right? I am not an attorney. I don't really understand. I am just here to answer the questions that are asked to me about specific things that I have knowledge of. Okay, even though you tweeted and celebrated about him being indicted, you have no knowledge of what he was indicted. You have no knowledge of what he was indicted for. There was a lot of indictments. Your Honor, I move to strike that. It is responsive, Your Honor. It's responsive, overruled. Okay, you don't know what he was indicted for in this case. You don't have any idea. Business records. And you know nothing about the business records, right? I know nothing about his business records. No, why would I? You know nothing about what he does or does not know about the business records, right? No. And Miss Daniels, you've changed your stories many times. And isn't it a fact that the reason you changed your stories many times is because you never had an affair with President Trump, but realized you could earn money by saying you had an affair, and you have been doing that for 12 years? Objection to form. Sustained. I have no further questions. Any redirect? Yes, I do, actually, Judge. May we approach for a moment? Yes. Judge, I want to be careful given your prior rulings. There are 2 exhibits I would like to put in. Defense exhibits, Miss Necklace, J2 and J17. They are specifically tweets that she elicited that Miss Daniels wrote and put on her Twitter, but Miss Necklace did not elicit the tweets to which she was responding, which are both threatening. For example, J2, she specifically asked about it. It was responsive to a threat that she received on that. In fact, the witness answered that, but Miss Necklace did not put it into evidence. And so, frankly, we feel that the jury needs to have the full context on those. I would like to admit one of them. On the second one, I would like to at least elicit a question about her tweet in her response to certainly, Your Honor, has ruled on these types of threats can be elicited in proper context. They have cross-examined thoroughly on the fact that, one, it attempts to undermine the threat of 2018 in the parking lot. These are in some ways corroborative of that. Second, they have cross-examined extensively about the fact that she was only doing all of this to make money. And even her testimony here and her story is all about money, undermining the fact that there are other issues that have arisen in terms of the threats, and that her whole reason to testify here is not purely about money, and that there have been other costs. In fact, Miss Necklace asked about that, and specifically about the money she made, all the money that she made off of this. Can I see it, the exhibit? It's J2 and J17. Susan, I don't have a copy for you. It was yours. Here is J2 and then J17. Thank you. We would like to elicit those. This one here, defense counsel can't use it as both a sword and a shield. You can't elicit only what Miss Daniels said and not show what it is. Responsive to. Is there any objection? Your Honor, I don't have a problem eliciting that it's a response to a threat. I think that they are not stalemates that are made by, or statements that are made by President Trump. They are statements that are made by some stranger, and she is just, does that matter? I don't think that matters. You did go into these a little bit and you left the jury with a certain impression. I think it's only fair that the jury should have a full picture of what we are talking about. I'm going to allow it. In addition, I'm going to seek to show what's already in evidence, which is People's 408B from May of 2024, which we didn't display, that says if you come after me, I'm going after you. Now, this witness, given the cross-examination that we've heard, I would like to elicit what, if any, effect it has had on her, and what, if anything, being involved in this case and telling her account, what the effect has been on her family, the economic costs, and in terms of other costs. And I think the door has not only been open, but the door has been flung wide open at this point. August of 2023. We object to that. That would be so highly prejudicial. We asked what she wrote and the money she made. Now they want to put into evidence a tweet that has nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with her. They are insinuating it had something to do with her. Things strangers have done. You did a very effective job on your cross-examination of calling into question her motivation. That specifically, you have left the jury with the impression, again, you did a good job, that she is doing all of this for money. She sold her story for money. I think that it's fair for the people to try to demonstrate that she has suffered injuries as a result of that and what they look like. I will allow it. Thank you, Your Honor. Redirect. Almost good afternoon, Miss Daniels. How are you? Good. Defense counsel asked you a lot of questions yesterday, and perhaps today as well, questioning whether fear was any part of your motivation in entering into the NDA. Do you remember any of those questions? Objection, Your Honor. Those weren't my questions. Overruled. Now, you said in response to questions from defense counsel that you entered into NDA because of advice from an attorney. Do you remember that? Yes. And that your attorney friend said something to you about hiding in plain view. Yes. Can you explain a little bit what that term meant, hiding in plain view, what your understanding is briefly? And it was not the attorney who was representing me. This is a friend who was just trying to give me advice, and his friends in the military use the term, get high, stay high. And it just means that if you're out in the open, you're safer hiding in plain sight, being out in the open, that something won't happen to you if everyone is looking at you. Okay. And so part of your motivation to enter into the NDA was to make sure this was all documented to keep you safe. Yes. And you were also happy to take the money. You're not saying that you're not happy to take the money, right? No, we are all happy to take money. It was just a bonus. Now, there was a question today. Miss Necklace showed you the NDA and she walked through a lot of the legal language in that document. Do you recall that? Yes. And that was a document that you hadn't prepared yourself, right? No. And some of it's hard for you to understand. Yeah. There was no lawsuit pending at the time, right? Did you threaten to sue Mr. Trump or no? No. Now, defense counsel on Tuesday, 2 days ago, asked you to read some text between yourself withdrawn. asked you to read some text between Gina Rodriguez and someone whose name was Dylan, who you mentioned you didn't know. Do you remember that? Yes. And those texts were from June 28th of 2016. Do you remember that? Yes. And she had you read from some texts. Let's put up People's 171A, please, into evidence. Do you see that box? These are from June 28th of 2016. I'm sorry, let's do it in the box one at a time. You see the box. I think it's ending in, it says Fox 38904. I have her. Do you see that? And do you remember she asked you to read that and what it says? Yes. Put up the next box. And do you remember she asked you to read this box? Is she ready to talk? Do you remember that? Yes. Can you put up the next box, please? And do you see Dylan asked a question? I thought she denounced it previously. Do you remember she had you read that box? Yes. Let's go to the next one, please. And she asked you to read that box. It said that she'll do it under 2 conditions. Yes. And first let's look at the next box. Can you highlight where she said she never did? Did she ask you to read that box where she said she never did? I don't think so. You can take that down. Now, defense counsel asked you a lot of questions about the In Touch article, and you indicated that it was a very light article. Is that right, for entertainment purposes? Yes. And can we show just to the witness, please, and to counsel the second page? Do you see at the bottom where it says this interview has been lightly edited? Did you see that? Yes. Did Miss Necklace ask you about that? No. Thank you. Now, Miss Necklace also asked you a lot of questions about your 60 Minutes interview with Anderson Cooper. Do you remember that? Yes. And she put up for you J12. She asked you a lot of questions about it. She asked you a lot of questions about what you did and didn't say in 2018 in some interviews. Do you remember that? Yes. And she asked you about your interview with Anderson Cooper. Now, you didn't tell every single detail to Anderson Cooper, did you? No. But you mentioned a lot of the details in that interview with him, didn't you? Objection to leading, Your Honor. Sustained. Well, there was a lot of back and forth in that interview between yourself and Anderson Cooper. Yes, it was very long. And defense counsel showed you that J12, the 60 Minutes interview, and asked you some questions about it. Yes. We would offer that into evidence now, Your Honor. Any objections? Yes, Your Honor. What's the objection? It's hearsay statements. Approach. What does that have to do with the interview? What is it for? A prior inconsistent statement. They have spent a long time talking about all kinds of inconsistencies. The witness clearly said she didn't tell every detail. There are a lot of details in there that she did there which she told him. It is a prior consistent statement to rebut that it is a recent fabrication. A prior consistent statement? Miss Necklace shows the article to her and asks her all sorts of questions. I'm surprised she would object to it being admitted at this point. I showed it under the clear rules that apply to prior inconsistent statements. Prior consistent statements are only admissible if they were made at the time before there was a motive for fabrication. That they were made in 2008 when she was selling her story. They are the same documents. It is the same document you used to impeach her as inconsistent. I would rely on People v. Davis, a Court of Appeal case, which direct me to it. Direct me to this relevant section. Okay, I need Gedalia for that. Do you have a copy for us? No, I don't. It's 44 NY 2nd, 269. So it starts over here. It has to be before the motive to fabricate started, and particularly this paragraph, if the defense argues it was fabricated from the beginning. Your Honor, it contextualizes the so-called inconsistency they asked about. It's unfairly given the jury an unfair impression, so it contextualizes it. It shows the entire context given that Miss Necklace went through and asked a number of questions about what was told or not told to Anderson Cooper. I can't read and listen to you guys at the same time. I apologize. When you are done, I wanted to add one thing. I understand what the decision says, and it does stand with what you're saying. I'm asking, if you're admitting it, I haven't decided yet. The question is the motive to fabricate. They indicated her motive to fabricate was after 2008. It's more recently. It's the indictments. It's going on these tours. It doesn't have to predate every motive to fabricate. They brought up a much later the alleged notice to fabricate. I would say that's not correct. I'm going to run on the side of the caution and deny the application. Can we bring out some of the details that are consistent to rebut the inference that out of context there are these inconsistencies? You can go back to anything that was taken out of context and address it in full context. I can ask her all the things she did tell. No, you can go back and address the things that were taken out of context and put them in context. I should be able to ask what things she did tell him, Anderson Cooper. She didn't tell him all of the details. There was a number of details that were asked and answered that she testified to here. I should be able to do exactly what Miss Necklace did. That's not the law. I should be able to ask questions about what was told. All right, let's continue. Step back. Ms. Hoffinger, you can clarify to the extent that they were discussed and to that extent only. Back to the redirect. Miss Necklace asked about certain things that you didn't tell Anderson Cooper at the time. Do you remember that? Yes. But there were many things that you did tell Anderson Cooper, did you not? Objection. Overruled. And in terms of the context, you did tell Anderson Cooper that you had acts with Mr. Trump in the hotel room. Objection, Your Honor. Overruled. Your Honor, I think this is not what I asked. Overruled. And you did also provide details of what happened in the room, didn't you? Yes. And for example, you told him that Mr. Trump never told you to keep it confidential. Objection, Your Honor. Please approach. These are none of the things I asked about. She is just going through generally things that are consistent with what she testified about. I never asked any of this. I'm filling out around Miss Necklace's questions. I only have a few, not every single thing. What makes it a little bit unique is that she's not trying to use prior consistent statements. She's using the same exact document that you used, and you left the jury with a certain impression. Now, I don't want you to go full board and try to rehabilitate that prior inconsistent statement. These are not the ones I addressed. She's going to things that have nothing to do with what I addressed. I agree. If I raised the issue, if you told him the sky was blue and I left off on some days that it was cloudy, you did leave the impression that she left out a lot of details. Yes, she wants to go back and say the details I never mentioned were actually things she said before, and that's improper. There were details. Just go back and establish that she established a lot of details and leave it at that. All right, Your Honor. Back to redirect again. So, Miss Daniels, did you tell Anderson Cooper about a lot of details of what happened in the room and in your other encounters with Mr. Trump, correct? Yes. I would like you, please, actually, I think we have, can we show J2 just to the witness? So we're showing you J2, which is an exhibit that Miss Necklace showed you and asked you some questions about. Do you remember that? Yes. And she asked you some questions about your saying, I will dance down the street when he is, quote, selected. Do you remember those questions? Yes. And do you remember responding that you said you were only responding and using the same words as the person who tweeted it to you? Do you recall that? Yes. I offer that evidence, Your Honor. No objection. Accepted into evidence. Can you put up on screen for everyone, please? Was this the tweet that you were responding to when you used the term selected? Yes. And in this tweet, do you know who posted this tweet on your Twitter page? Are you asking if I knew the person personally? No. Did you know who the person was? No. This is an example of people who sometimes show up and put tweets on your Twitter page? Yes. And this person called you a disgusting, degenerate prostitute? Yes. And did this person also say good luck walking down the streets after this? Yes. What did you understand that to mean, good luck walking down the street after this? That I wouldn't be safe going in public anymore. And did this person also tweet, no wonder Glenn left you? Yes. What did you understand that to mean? There's no surprise that my daughter's father left. And this tweet was dated March 18th of 2023? Yes. And then you responded to that, is that right? That's correct. You can take that down now. Do you recall Miss Nicholas showing you the tweet of yours and asking a question about your response? Do you remember that? Yes. And she didn't ask you all about the original tweet that you were responding to, is that correct? That's correct. Is this another example of somebody that showed up on your Twitter page saying something about you that you responded to? Yes. And this was back in December of 2022, is that right? Yes. And the tweet on this page that you were responding to were you responding to someone calling you an aging harlot? Yes. And these two tweets, examples of some of the tweets that you received from random individuals in relation to things that you have said publicly about Mr. Trump. Yes, these are tame actually. Miss Daniels, this tweet by Mr. Trump was August 4th of 2023. Yes. And are you aware that this Truth Social post from Mr. Trump when it came out? Yes. Sorry. Who did you understand Mr. Trump was directing this to at the time? I wasn't sure, but I thought it was me. In what way? Do you want me to read it? No, you can read it. Okay. Because it says, if you go after me, I'm coming after you. And this was right around the same time that he filed in Florida. So it seemed to be connected, but I'm not sure. That he filed in Florida, the proceeding against you on the legal fees? Yes, you can take that down, thank you. By the way, defense counsel asked you some questions about whether you felt you were responsible for the charges in this case. Do you remember that? Yes. You didn't testify in the grand jury in this case, did you? I did not. So you had nothing to do with the charges in this case initially, did you? I did not. Objection, Your Honor. Overruled. I will allow. I am sorry, your answer? I did not. Now, Miss Necklace asked you at the end of her questioning about the fact that you didn't know anything about the business records in this case, meaning Mr. Trump's business records. Do you remember those questions? Yes. Whether you knew anything about the repayments or the reimbursements or any of the business records. Do you remember that? Yes. And you said you didn't know anything directly, is that right? Yes. Do you recall the lawsuit that you filed, your lawyers filed against Mr. Trump to get out of the NDA? Do you remember that? Yes. And do you remember that Mr. Trump was represented by counsel in that case? Yes. And do you recall that his attorneys, Mr. Trump's attorney, in the court papers filed in June of 2018, confirmed that Donald Trump in 2017 had reimbursed Michael Cohen's company, Essential Consultants, for the $130,000 that was paid to you? Yes, I saw that. So that was confirmed in Mr. Trump's lawyers' submitted court papers, correct? Correct. Now, defense counsel asked you a whole lot of questions regarding your making money about telling lies about Mr. Trump. Do you remember that? Yes. Have you been telling lies about Mr. Trump or the truth about Mr. Trump? The truth. And now, Miss Necklace asked you about whether you're telling your account of what happened with Mr. Trump has made you money. And I think you said it also cost you a lot of money. Do you remember saying that? Yes. Can you explain that? I've had to hire security, take extra precautions, tutors for my daughter. I had to move my daughter to a safe place to live. I had to move a couple of times, and I lost, had a judgment on automatic attorney fees because my case from the NDA was thrown out. And I appealed it and it was dismissed again. So attorney's fees are automatically awarded in those kinds of instances. Let me ask you a question, Ms. Daniels. On balance, has your publicity telling the truth about your experiences with Mr. Trump had a net positive or net negative in your life? Objection, Your Honor. Overruled. Negative. Nothing further. Thank you. Any recross? Yes. Now we are into recross with defense counsel. This is some stranger who sent a tweet to you, right? Yes. And that's the kind of thing that happens on Twitter, right? You mean strangers? Yes. Post nasty things? Of course. It says nasty stuff. It says you're a disgusting, degenerate prostitute who accepts money. And then it says to frame an innocent man, right? Yes. And then at the bottom it says POTUS will be selected by a landslide in 2024, right? Yes. It's a nasty post, right? Yes. And it's from someone who is politically opposed to you, right? Supporting President Trump, right? It appears that way. And that's the kind of stuff that goes on Twitter, among other things, yes. And you say, so Tiny paid me to frame him, right? Yes. It's you being nasty back, yes. And you sound even dumber than he does during his illiterate ramblings. You're also being nasty. You're being nasty also, right? Yes. You're calling each other names, right? Yes. At this point, a person you don't even know, you're engaged in a fight of calling each other names, right? I didn't call this person names. You said you sound dumber than he does? I'm sorry, yes. And then you say, I don't walk, I will dance down the street when he is selected to go to jail, right? Yes. And you engage in these kinds of back and forths with strangers all the time, right? Sure. You prided yourself in what you considered your witty answers, right? Uh-huh. So when the prosecutors put these up to talk about how people were attacking you, you were attacking them right back, right? I was defending myself and attacking them right back, right? I never attacked anybody first. The same with Mr. Trump. I didn't say anything negative about him until he did it to me. And you're calling President Trump's names there, right? Yes. And you're calling whoever asked this Twitter or posted this Twitter names, right? I said they sound dumb, as in the tweet is dumb. I stand by that. If you can put that down and put up J17. And I offer this into evidence. No objection, accepted into evidence. We can show that. And the prosecutors asked you about whether someone else had said some nasty stuff to you again, right? Yes. And they called you an aging harlot, right? Yes. Again, nasty, right? Yes. And you jabbed right back at them, right? Yes. And you jabbed back and you said, you are so rich that you have more money than they do, right? Did I say that? Well, you said you made $1 million and you just bought a new ranch home, right? I don't say I have more money than them. You said you made $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. And just paid for your new ranch, right? Yes. And that's what you've been doing consistently for some time now, right? What's that? Replying, standing up for myself on Twitter, or paying my bills? Entering into Twitter battles. Yes, sure. When somebody attacks me, I'm going to defend myself. And you were just shown this by the prosecution, right? Yes. And you said you thought that that was about you. I said I didn't know. It could be. It doesn't mention your name, right? No. And are you aware that there, at the time that President Trump posted this, there was a Republican PAC that was going after him? No. Do you know whether this had to do with that Republican PAC? Of course not. And you have no knowledge that this had anything to do with you, right? No, I said as much. I have no further questions, Your Honor. I just have 2 questions, Your Honor. Redirect. Or further direct. Back to Ms. Hoffinger, so back to the state. Can we put up J2 into evidence, please? Thank you. Can you do a split screen also on People's 408A if possible? Ms. Daniels, take a look at People's 408A. What is the date on this truth post by Mr. Trump calling you a horse face and a sleazebag? What's the date on that? March 15th of 2023. And what is the date of the post that's in evidence as J2? March 21st of 2023. So how many days later was J2 after defendant's post? 6. Thank you very much. Nothing further. Anything else? No, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Daniels. You can step down. The witness is excused. All right, everyone, we finished Ms. Daniels's testimony. My goodness, it has been a journey. Wow. So let me go ahead and turn on comments and we can do a Q&A. Oh my gosh, to kind of do an overall discussion here of her testimony, and then also talk about today a little bit for those who have questions. So hello, everyone. Uh-oh, my comments should be back on. Hold on, let me try one more time. All right, there we go. Done better that time. Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome. Happy Monday. That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. Hello. Yes, Yes. So she testified, everyone. She testified for 7 hours. That's a lot of testimony. That was a pretty extensive cross examination that she went through. Good ending. I agree. I think that was a very good ending. I feel bad for Stormy. I do too. Although, I think she held up pretty good to a pretty awful situation, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Was glad that it was over. She was. I would bet. Yes, recross. Recross. I had someone say, we call it a further cross. I'm like, I know, but is more fun, right? Yes, yeah. What's the pact they're referring to? Great question. So it sounds like, and this is the first time I've heard of this, everyone. So that tweet where he said, if you come after me, I'm going to go after you, which was a huge issue in the DC case. And it was one of the big pieces that allowed for the gag order to be put in place in DC that was upheld by the Court of Appeals and then was mirrored in the New York case, right? They're saying that that particular thing has something to do with a Republican PAC. I think that's very interesting. And again, the first I've heard of it, that again was one of the primary reasons why Jack had asked for that gag order out of DC and the courts have upheld it. And again, we've got this gag order here. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a new take on why the gag order was inappropriate. I think it's very interesting. Yes, I think it will be very, very, very interesting. PAC, yeah, PAC, PAC, yep. Political Action Committee. If we buy her book, will she get the proceeds? Of course, she will get some kind of royalties to that. And also, apparently, she has a whole merch site. I've not had a chance to take a look, but yeah. Republicans don't want him either. It could be, or it could just be another argument that they plan to use going forward in appealing any gag orders when any of their cases are going. I agree, Kristen. They really did continue to repeat those derogatory tweets repeatedly over and over again. And you could see, too, how language was used as, a bit of a weapon repeatedly and how aggressive both sides got when they needed to be, but in particular, defense. Yes, I don't know. Did anyone find the site? Did they prove anything? I don't know. I really don't know. This is one of those situations where, I will be very interested to hear what the jury says later on down the road after the verdict comes back. Whichever way it comes back, I will be very interested to hear, what happened. Which witnesses really worked for the jury, which witnesses didn't, and what techniques worked as well for counsel. Is Cohen the final witness? No. So my understanding is that Cohen is we've got one more witness after Cohen. That's my understanding. So the state has two witnesses. Cohen is one of the two. Should have had one more. Could have been the George Conway Pact. Maybe. It may be, but this is a brand new argument. It's not one of the arguments that they presented when they fought the gag order in that First Amendment issue in D.C., which is originally where the template for this gag order came from, and the gag order in New York as well, or the New York civil case. So I do not know, everyone. They only have court 3 days this week, right? Great question, Daisy, and I'm not sure. I know we're off for sure on Wednesday, but I do not have that in front of me. So that's a great question. I think they come back Thursday, but then I'm not sure if they'll go Friday or not. Terrible delay. Oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry about the delay. She has comic books. That's interesting. No court Friday. Okay. And she's got candles. Barron's graduation. Right. Oh, that's right. His graduation. And I've heard there's also a rally on that day too. So that's right. That's right. No delay. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Sorry about that. Love the nails. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, these are my... I thought I would do something a little extra sparkly for Miss Daniels tonight. I feel like we've spent so many days with her here. Oh, wonderful. Oh, VC is amazing. If you check out her link, she has linked the transcripts, everyone. So it makes it so much easier to read than how the New York courts have put them on. I'm so thankful for the New York courts, but it is a bit cumbersome to, go one page at a time. So if you can find anywhere that has a PDF, that's definitely a benefit. Do we know who the defense will bring in? No, not at this point. Not at this point. And they do not have to disclose any of their witnesses. They do not. I was reading through multiple pieces of these transcripts where defense multiple times had said, oh, we're not ready for this witness, whomever the witness is. And I think even one time they said, our printer's broken and we're not ready to go on this witness. And the judge was like, well, that's too bad. So we've got some very interesting things. Her store's on Etsy. Interesting. Okay. That's so sweet. Yes, what can we search to find the easy to read PDF? So great question. Really, if you put in, if you're online, if you don't want to go through VC's links, if you just put in Trump transcripts or New York criminal Trump transcripts, PDF, it'll take you to multiple sites where they're available. But then VC does have a link that you can go to as well. But if you put in the PDF at the end of your search, then it will pull up a couple of different newspapers that have PDFs in a few different places. So it gives you multiple options. The Ring. Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, I had to do a little glitzy tonight. I had to get a little glamorous. Does prosecution have to disclose witnesses? Yes. So the defense knows who all of the witnesses are for the prosecution, everyone. Make no mistake. The prosecution has to tell the defense who the witnesses are going to be. And they have to tell them any kind of exculpatory evidence about the witness. So any of the information that could go against the witness's credibility, they have to give that to the defense. But they do not have to tell them the order of when the witnesses are coming in. That's something that we do as a courtesy and something that has not been extended to defense counsel in this case because of all these gag issues, because of the gag order issues. What happens if he doesn't show to the graduation? That's a great question. There's not an order in effect. So, I mean, technically, he's not ordered to go to the graduation. The judges just shut court down to make it available. Now, some people have said that the judge has said that you can't go golfing, but if he doesn't actually go to Barron's graduation, the judge will have words to say. I could imagine, but I don't think there'll be any kind of sanction if he doesn't go. How Stormy came across the jury. Great question. And from almost all of the reporting, almost everyone that has been reporting, the private people, the private news people, as well as the big news people, have said that she came across as, very not really likable, but very compassionate person, and that the jury felt sorry for her, and that they felt that she was telling the truth. And that's the impression that people got from the jurors. And they did get the feeling that defense was kind of badgering at her, being kind of mean to her. So that seems to be the impression for the people in the room. By being so defensive? No, I don't think so. And that's a great question. Did she hurt herself by being so defensive? No, I don't think so. I think that she was so consistent with that and consistent with how she defends herself when she feels she's being attacked. And if she's being attacked on Twitter, if she's being attacked by Mr. Trump, if she's being attacked by defense counsel, she will defend herself. And so I think she's keeping true to character. I don't think that has hurt her. I don't think anything that she testified to, and I have literally read all of her words. I have read all of her words, and I do not see anything in here that I felt was harmful. Now, this is just my opinion as an attorney, and I have done criminal trials myself. I didn't find anything that was harmful. Now, with Davidson, I found there weren't things necessarily that were hurtful, but a few things that were like, ooh, I'm not so sure about that. But there was nothing with Miss Daniels' testimony that I felt was like a red flag that, I felt had to be cleaned up. I didn't feel that way at all. I didn't feel it was like 100% perfect. I didn't feel like it was a bomb. I think she did the absolute best that she could have done. Right. sure what the defense attorney was trying to get. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes, as defense counsel, sometimes we go too far. We go too far when we're trying to discredit or impeach, and we get so stuck on finding this perfect answer that we're looking for that we forget that we've just gone too far. And I think that happened a few times here with counsel, with Miss Necklace. I think she just was trying too hard to get a particular answer, and she wasn't getting it. And rather than moving on, she just kept hammering away at it. And I think that hurt her. I think that hurt her in the end, in my opinion. Again, I think her technique was not as polished as it could have been. I think that there was huge potential on cross to really go after Miss Daniels. I thought there was a really huge opportunity, but I feel like it did not come to fruition. I do not feel like they got the best of her. That was my opinion. Really? Oh, thank you, Sloan. Thank you. And his attorneys, yes. This whole situation is pretty awful. It's a pretty terrible situation. Couldn't land the plane. Thanks, Daisy May. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way of saying it. She couldn't land the plane. I think she was flying the plane according to the manual that she read rather than based off of experience. That's how I felt about it, in my humble opinion. Oh my gosh. Think she had to because of Trump? Probably. There was some discussion, everyone, and maybe you'd heard these comments being posted about how Mr. Trump had kind of elbowed her a few times to object during the direct testimony, and I think that's fascinating. If I had a client who was elbowing me and telling me when to object, I'd be like, "I'm sorry, excuse me, excuse me." I'm here to do my job. Like, you show me your law license and you can tell me when to object, dude. But this is a different, we've got different stakes going apparently, and Mr. Trump has a different standard when it comes to how he treats people. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm there may be times when I've had clients write me a note, write something to me, which is absolutely fine. I think that's great. And if you're involved in your case too, and you've got questions and things you want to ask, of course, make that known. But to be elbowing someone and saying like, "Oh, I need you to object," like, wow, that's really yikes. Can Trump lie to his lawyers? It doesn't seem like he told them the whole truth. Sure. You don't have any, obligation to completely be truthful to your lawyers, just like you don't have an obligation to be truthful to your doctors. Like, you can go into your doctor's appointment and they can say, "Wow, what is that?" And then you can say it's nothing. And, you can lie all you want, but then something bad's probably going to happen. And that's how I put it with clients as well. Like, you don't have to tell me everything or answer all of my questions truthfully, but, that's fine. Then I'm going into surgery blind and we'll just see what happens. We'll see how that goes for you. It's possible he could actually get jail time. It's possible. Class C felonies up to 4 years, I believe. So it is possible. What if he's telling the truth? Well, it's up to the jury to decide. Our jury will tell us what it is. And no matter what the jury decides, in this case, I will believe them wholeheartedly. If they find he is not guilty, I will absolutely trust and believe this jury. If they find him guilty, I will absolutely trust and believe this jury. That's how our system works. And we have to have that kind of trust in our juries. We have to believe them, whichever way they come back. We have to believe them. Because that's their job. This is how the process works. So either way, if he's telling the truth and the jury believes that that's the truth, then they'll let us know. 4 year per charge, and they probably would not run them consecutively, so we wouldn't be looking at 34. That doesn't mean the witnesses... Right. Do you think they'll call Keith the bodyguard? It's possible, but I'm not sure at this point. I don't know if they can find him innocent, honestly. Well, we will not know. And they are in a very, very blocked off, well-controlled situation. They're not getting all of the kind of reporting and information that we have, or any of this information. They're only getting to hear the testimony at the time and take a few notes. So our jury, again, they are going to tell us truly what the facts are. Yeah, I mean, it's really up to them. It could be consecutive, but it would be highly unlikely. but it could be, I suppose. Won't call anyone they think could harm. Yeah, I'm really not sure. What they're going to want is something that's someone to tie things up with a nice bow. So something where we don't have a lot of like thunder. We don't want a big, huge show at the end. We want something that's usually I say you want your strongest, your first, and your last. So you want your story set out by your strongest witness, and then your last witness kind of ties it all up. So, and puts that final bow on it. So I'm not sure who that would be. I would have thought a good candidate would have been one of the secretaries that walked through it. Could have been one of the better people. So I would think Alan Wesselberg would have been a great one, but I don't think he's coming. So I don't think he's coming. Yeah, they had a pen and paper, and that's it, everyone. I mean, that's the pen's mightier than the sword, right? Right. Right, exactly. Yes, now, and I do have multiple posts that I have been putting up today, everyone, on Michael Cohen's testimony to Congress. So I highly recommend taking a look at those posts if you're interested in some of the things that Mr. Cohen has had to say in the past about the situation. Yes. Have you seen anything that could be an appeal? Well, I mean, everything can be an appeal, right? Anytime you have a motion for mistrial, it's because you're basically putting a tab or you're putting a bookmark where you want to appeal. So the more motions for mistrial or the more motions to dismiss, the more appeal opportunities you have. So that's just very normal. Mr. Trump does not testify. Would that hurt his case or help him? I traditionally believe that a defendant testifying, unless it's a kind of unless it's a self-defense type situation, I have not seen where it has been beneficial for a defendant to testify on their own behalf. But every single defendant has a right. So I really do not know how Mr. Trump would help his case by testifying because it's a documents case. I mean, the question would be, is this your signature? Yes. It's like, we're done. I don't know how that would help him. He can say all kinds of things like, oh, everybody does this, or they're just out to get me, or, he just told me that these are for legal expenses. I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. He can say all of that stuff, but I don't know how that's going to be persuasive at the end of the day when the state is saying, these are the documents, this is the law. Did the documents break the law, yes or no? So bringing the senators was an attempt to intimidate Cohen. That's a good question. I think it was... I'm not sure what the senators are doing, although I think it's great. I think anytime someone can come down off of their big ivory tower and float on into a courtroom and get dirty in the trenches and see what really happens in the criminal justice system, I think that's great. Because it's not just all, pretty fun, great Perry Mason moments. No, it's dirty. It's hard work. It's difficult. And everyone is fighting it out in these courtrooms. So anytime I think we can get someone on a field trip to an actual courtroom, that's great. But as far as intimidating Cohen goes, he already testified in front of Congress. I think if he had been intimidated, that would have been the shot. Come to see the mob boss. Probably, I suppose, if you want to put it there. If you want to put it like that. He would not be able to control himself, or he would. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. They gave a press conference and said that they're saying what Trump can't. Yeah, and, whatever. I don't know how much. I don't know how much I can. I mean, what? He's like relaying. What are we, middle school? Like, pass the note on. Like, what are you doing? Come on. Come on, people. I was impressed by Cohen today. I was too, everybody. I was too. So let's take a couple of minutes and talk about Mr. Cohen. Of course, I will be going through his transcripts once they are released. But we did have Mr. Cohen testifying today. He had a direct examination today, so this is going to be easier of the roads that he will be going down for sure. Can you please touch on how hearsay rules allow hearsay? Oh, absolutely. So when we have any document that has a statement on it that's being used to prove the truth of the matter asserted, so anything that can be helpful for the case but was created outside of court is going to be hearsay. Now, it's okay if it's hearsay, though, if there's an exception. We have 27 exceptions and then some, like business record exceptions, birth certificate exceptions, all kinds of exceptions where we have shown over the years and the courts believe that there's a trustworthiness to the document. So any business record technically would be hearsay because it's created outside of the courtroom. If it's created outside the courtroom, it's going to be hearsay. That's why we have so many exceptions. That means, yes, it's hearsay, but it's allowable. So hearsay doesn't mean it can't come in. It just means you have to see if there is an exception. And if there's an exception, then it can come in. Like, for example, dying declaration is an exception. If someone's saying a statement as they are, being unalived, whatever statement they're saying can be used in court because they're being unalived. How can that statement not come into court? How is that not important for the jury to hear? But how else would we get it in? Because clearly it's hearsay. Also, admissions by the defendant. So anytime a confession is written or a defendant's making admissions, technically those could be seen as hearsay, but the rules say that they're not, and so they're allowed in. Against the gag order to say other things, if you ask others to do it, that's the thing. And so they're kind of playing this little game where they're like, well, I didn't ask the senators to say that. They just did it on their own. They just wanted to say it themselves. I don't know why. I don't know why. Yeah, so we have this sketch, everyone, but this is the sketch that has come out. And he is here in a tie, and we've got him being directed by Miss Hoffman, I believe is her name here. So I think this is more accurate, although I thought this was just a very good sketch of the situation. Yeah, he does. It's his eyebrows, everybody. I'm going to tell you that right now. Mr. Cohen has the eyebrows that has the sadness to them. and go figure. But his eyebrows, whenever you look at him, they are just set at a point where they just kind of look sad. Let me pull out another picture here that I have of him because I agree, but I think it's just like I think that's just his face. A lot of times some people will ask you, oh, are you angry? And you're like, it's just my face. That's just what my face looks like. So I think for Mr. Cohen, I think it's just his face. I may not be able to find another picture of him. Let me see if I have it. Oh, here it is. See, even here, when he's smiling or when he's talking, he still kind of looks sad in here, doesn't it? Resting sad face. Right. He's just kind of got that. Yes. He's just kind of got that air about him. Oh my goodness. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, blood. I think that's right. Yeah, the bloodhound eyes, like puppy dog situation. I think. I agree. Hold on here, everyone. I've got the puzzle piece I've got to put in. There we go. Hold on. Oh, we got it. Good. So yes, Basset Hound. Thank you. I don't know all the dog types, but yeah, he's got kind of that. Yes. Will you be reading more tonight? So no, this will be it for tonight's reading, everyone, because it has taken me so many days to get through Stormy's testimony. Now, I have been posting every single day on my Tube of You. I've posted the very first portion of Stormy's transcripts that I have read. So each day I will be posting another piece until I can get all of her transcripts up and going. So thank you. Oh, you're welcome. So I will be back again to do more readings, but I will have to take a little bit of a break. Oh, thank you so much, Grandma. I appreciate that. Yes, and if you want to go back and listen, I have Mr. Peckers, I have Hope Hicks, and the first of the Stormy Daniels readings. All of those are now up on my Tube of You, and you can watch the whole thing and fast forward if you want, which is always nice to do. But if you want to listen to those, I'm also starting to record a few more pieces of transcripts that I'm just reading as posts as well, to try to make sure to get more information out to everybody. So it takes a long time to kind of go through and read through everything, but it's such a fascinating situation with so many great legal questions. So I do want to do a friendly reminder, though, here of who our sketch artists are. So I haven't had this picture up in a while, but we have 3 sketch artists here. Let me tell you their names. We have Jane Rosenberg, we have Elizabeth Williams, and Christine Cornell. So these are 3 of our primary court sketch artists, and very thankful to them for sharing their wonderful work with us so that we can have a peek into the courtroom. Yes, very. Should put an audiobook together. I should. I really should. I feel like I've been talking a lot about this case. Ah. I do. Yes, I need to do something. I'm not sure. We might have a grand finale, but so for this week, let me give you just a heads up on this. I will be out tomorrow. I'm going to a show, and where I live, if there's a show available and you can go to it, you have to go. So I'm very excited. So I will be out tomorrow, but Wednesday I will be back. And what I'm going to do on Wednesday is a complete overview of the case. So I'll take you through every day of the case up into so every witness who's been testifying up to Mr. Cohen. So I really want to kind of do a summary of the entire trial, and I'll get that started, and then we'll start on Mr. Cohen's testimony. So I want to kind of, catch everybody up before I start Cohen's testimony. Join the Hawks podcast. Oh, I should. Oh my gosh. I should do that. I need to give him a holler and be like, hey, Hawk, where you at? Let's do it. Enjoy the show. Oh, I will. I really will. I'm very excited about it. Yes, so I will be back to do a live on Wednesday, everyone, and I will do a recap of the entire trial, and then Thursday I will start Cohen's transcripts. So I think that should be that should work out good for the schedule to catch everybody up and so on. So that should be. Oh, and I adore him as well. Hawk is just a stitch. He just cracks me up. I absolutely adore them. So yes. So with that, everyone, I will go ahead and sign off for tonight. I know I'm kind of shutting down a little bit early, but we had a super long night last night, and this past week has just done a bit on my throat, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break. But thank you all for joining me tonight for Stormy's grand finale. Again, I will be posting every single day on my Tube of You. I've only got a couple more, and then we'll be caught up with all of Stormy's testimony as well. So, and that's really fun. Again, because you can just play it straight through. So that's really fun to be able to just listen in on that and hear what's been going on. And then Wednesday I'll be back and I will do a complete recap of the entire trial, and then we'll start digging into Mr. Cohen's testimony. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Suze. Thank you. Yes, and thank you to my moderators for all of the hard work that you've been putting in. Oh, I couldn't do it without you, so I'm very, very thankful for that. I will be back on Wednesday. I will make sure to do a post and let everybody know when and what will be going on for my next live, so just keep an eye out on that. Yeah, there is a lot going on. We really do. We have quite a bit. So I'm trying to kind of do little posts here and there on everything. So anyway, take care, everyone. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all again Wednesday.